All right. 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pixel Venture Podcast. I'm Korey.
And I'm Jake.
A normal intro. That's rare.
It's been a day.
A day?
It's been
How
a
so?
day, yeah. Because you know what today is.
Today is the Wednesday.
No,
the
it's
hump
Saturday.
day.
It's Saturday, you idiot.
I'm breaking immersion.
It's Saturday, and this is the
So
grab bag that we promised from a while ago.
Yeah, so sorry about that. First things first. But also, not sorry. Because the break was nice. Like, it was a nice little breather.
Yeah,
But,
however, unfortunately, we couldn't take a second break, so we couldn't find a new set quite yet, so excuse the mess a little bit.
What do you mean? I thought we found some.
We did not clean it up. We
Gotcha.
didn't clean up the last set. They left a couple of things.
Some ashes and, like, a broken shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, after it cut off, Jake ran in with a fire extinguisher, and I grabbed out a little squirt bottle. We got rid of as much as we could.
Yeah, it did not help. That was a water bucket to the sun right there.
Hey, I like to think that it was a fun experience. Plus, think of the insurance money we're getting. Then we'll be able to get a legit set with it.
We were squatting. We have no insurance.
Jake, they don't know that.
Oh, they do now.
They don't still.
I just told them, and I'm editing.
Hey
this
everyone,
week.
believe the funny man on the internet who's telling you that it did not happen because they're always right because of the host.
You know, you can't even be trusted to hold on to questions. How can we trust you with your words?
Look, okay, that's an Instagram problem. It wasn't a Korey problem.
If you say so.
So, just so you at the audience at home understands, when Instagram runs the polls and everything, normally I should be able to still access all of the answers, like, after the fact. Because, like, that's how it was for like, other grab bags. But for whatever reason, this one's just not showing up, period. So, we knew some of the stuff that was said, but some of the questions got lost in the shuffle. And we're sorry about that. If anything, that just means next episode, but we do have a few that we did come up with, like, properly. So we'll come up with remember. Not that we picked all the questions. I gotta work on the way that I word everything.
Welcome to English.
Yeah, welcome to Flub Central. Population Korey. Sorry. Anyways.
So what were some of the questions, Korey?
First question. We don't have a whole lot of questions because of what happened, but first question. Worst flavor of ice cream?
I think you should go first.
I feel like you're not going to agree with it.
I know you're not going to agree with me. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me.
Okay, I'll go first. I don't really understand why people really like pistachio ice cream. Every time I've had it, it's never been really good. Like, it's like the flavor just doesn't work. Maybe I'm getting the wrong brands, maybe I'm going to the wrong places, but every time I've gotten pistachio ice cream, I've just had, like, a very mediocre experience.
Nah, I can see that. Like, pistachio ice cream is, like, a weird flavor. Like, that feels almost like olives on pizza. It's one of the ones where, like, you like it and you see it everywhere, or like you hate it and you don't understand why it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's the same thing with like orange juice with pulp. Like if you don't like it with pulp, you're never going to like any amount of it. But if you're okay with pulp, having it without it, that's not going to change the experience.
Do you not like pistachios?
Here's the thing. I like pistachio nuts. I don't like the ice cream.
Like, I don't know if I'd want, like, nuts in my ice cream.
My big thing... Okay,
like, I feel like that's too sweet to go with, like... Pistachios are usually, like, on the saltier side. Like, they usually salt them, but, like, even then...
Yeah. The argument that I hear for nuts with ice cream is those drumstick ice creams. You know, where it's, like, the chocolate dipped and then they put the peanuts on the outside? Like... I can kind of understand that, although, again, I was the kid that peeled off the peanuts because I really didn't like them on the ice cream. But, like, here's my thing, okay? I can eat, like, nuts, like, singular nuts, like, just fine. If I'm eating a spoonful of them and it's cold and it's liquid, that's, like, I'm not into it. Like, I really don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just a me thing. It could 100% be just a me thing. But
no, like, there's plenty of people who don't like pistachio ice cream.
Yeah. So what's your controversial opinion, Jake?
Whew. So, I know this question is specifically about ice cream, but this opinion is not limited to just ice cream. It just happens to be one of the casualties.
Okay. I'm getting a little nervous.
I do not like chocolate.
Like, period? At all.
I don't understand people's preferences for chocolate ice cream. I cannot stand... Well, let me put it this way. I don't like things that are chocolate flavored because it's always too much chocolate.
Okay, I like 100% understand that.
Like, chocolate ice cream, just to be, like, on topic, like, it's either really, like, chalky, almost, in a way that no other flavor is, like, or it tastes like fudge, and I don't want a huge bowl of fudge.
Yeah, like, okay, I completely understand that, because that's why I personally don't enjoy, like chocolate ice cream straight up, but like mint chocolate or like chocolate chip, where
or
it's
even
like you have that
chocolate syrup like on top of like say vanilla ice cream, like that's fine.
Because then you have that other flavor to offset it. When you're just eating like a bowl of chocolate, it's just straight up chocolate.
Or like at a restaurant,
some people really like it. But...
At a restaurant, I would never get like the quadruple chocolate, ganache mousse cake thing that they have.
Dude.
It doesn't even come with like a side of like vanilla ice cream or whatever to like counteract it, because that's just like, it feels too much. Like,
yeah, no, like I know exactly what you're talking about, because when I was little, I forget what the restaurant was, but they had this like chocolate mousse cake, and I think it was actually I think it was this restaurant that used to be in Wells, Maine called Maniacs, and I think they're closed now, unfortunately. They actually had some really good stuff. But the chocolate mousse cake was so incredibly rich. Like, unbearably rich. And as someone, like, when I was little, I'm pretty sure that thing was the reason why I don't like chocolate as much as I do now. Because, like, it was just an immense amount. It felt like you were eating the densest Hershey bar, like, ever.
Yeah. But even for me, like, you know how everyone's, like, in love with those, like, Lindt chocolate truffles or whatever?
Yeah, I know that because I remember your mom gave me some for Ketson.
Like, I think they're, like, they're fine. I don't think I could ever have more than, like, one or two without getting sick of them.
Yeah, no, but I'm the same way. Like,
but interestingly, I love white chocolate, though.
I know a lot of people don't like it, which I
know.
For me, there's not a crazy difference with the flavor. In my opinion, it's a little sweeter.
It's a little sweeter, and to me, it's like, it's more creamy than it is chocolatey. Because, like, for some reason, there's something about just, like, the chocolatiness of chocolate that's, like, too much.
Yeah, like just generally off-putting.
Yeah. Like, I don't want that to be, like, the main thing. And like when
Like,
people like
yeah.
I don't like it's common to be like, oh, what do you prefer, like, chocolate or vanilla ice cream? I can't stand chocolate ice cream. It's always vanilla. And there's some people who are the exact opposite.
If there was a third option, strawberry.
Coffee.
Coffee's fantastic.
Coffee ice cream.
I found the campfire coffee ice cream. I don't think I told you that.
I don't think you did.
I found it and I got to try it.
And it's great.
Best ice cream I've had as far as
It's
like coffee
great.
ice cream goes.
Yeah.
It's literally like you're eating a cup of coffee and it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm still going to say, like, now until the day I eventually weather away into, like, nothingness, that mint chip is always going to be my favorite. But that is, like, brushing up on it. Like,
that
it's so tasty.
campfire coffee ice cream properly tastes like a medium roast, and not like it was a bowl of ice cream that was in the same room as coffee like other brands.
Yeah, like, there's, like... I want to call out the Hood ice cream for a second, because like it's either their flavors hit or miss so incredibly hard.
I don't even know if I've had Hood ice cream.
You are saved a bullet, my friend.
I'm a friendly's family.
Okay, have you at least had a Hoodsie cup, like the little tiny ice cream cups?
Oh yeah, those I've had.
Yeah, so you know what you're getting into. It's like the same consistency, which is a little off-putting for ice cream.
That's not necessarily a good standard, because I just remember that from like middle school and elementary school, and now that you mention it, it specifically reminds me of Shadow Day.
Yeah.
Shadow Day, 6th grade, going over to the middle school.
For anybody who doesn't understand what Shadow Day was, could you like give a quick rundown?
So, I come from a small town, and we have one elementary school that goes
just a small town girl.
Shut the fuck up.
Living in a... Shut up! I want to sing!
It goes to 6th grade, and then for 7th, we go over to the middle school of a nearby town that we freeload off of.
My town.
In order to properly, like, get the kiddos adjusted to the new town and the new school, we have the 6th grade from my town shadow 6th graders from the middle school.
My town.
Yeah. And we like spend the day following them around classes. Funnily enough, I shadowed Ryan.
And it wasn't until like the end of high school that you realized it too.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, I was your shadow, wasn't I?
Yeah. And then like it was like, oh my god. Like everybody freaked out a little bit. It was like, yeah, that was totally you.
Yeah, I followed him to woodshop, whatever that class was called.
Oh man, I missed that class. That was a fun class. We built lawn chairs and everything. That was really cool.
Dude, we built a cutting board.
Dude, I still have my cutting board.
I don't know what happened to mine.
I did a mix of mahogany and birch.
We have spent 13 minutes on one question.
Which is great because we only have 6.
But that's still... Well,
All
that's
right.
5 more to go. Let's keep on
All
keeping
right.
on.
Let's move. Zip. Hip.
That's all, folks.
Jake, shut up. You don't let me sing, I don't let you bully me. All right. Favorite editing software? Not Vegas. That's the best answer I can give.
I could go on a little mini lecture about editing software.
Well, yeah, well, before you do that, this is my opinion, is that whatever people will say the best editing software, it's the one they started with. Because that's the one that they understand the best because they brute force their way through it. I don't say that because personally, I think Vegas is a steaming pile of garbage. Especially after all the trouble that it's been giving me over the past year. I've been trying out Premiere recently, as well as Lightworks, I believe it's called. I forget the exact name. But like I've been trying out both of those, and I like those a little bit. Like Vegas will always be a comfort pick if I need to do a quick edit, but I will never say that it's the best editing software out there.
Now, I am an editor.
Mm-hmm.
and I go,
this is your question, buddy. I'm gonna mute my mic and let you do what you need.
I'm an editor. Next question. Okay. So I'm gonna give a little rundown of the editing softwares that I've used over the years. So I started with Vegas. Previously, formerly Sony Vegas, now owned by Magix, right? And it's a good software. Like, it gets everything done that you need it to get done for editing. And it's a very user-friendly software. Like, you had a point where, like, yeah, the first software that you use is often the one that you like the most because you brute force your way into learning it and that's what you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. But I think Vegas, like, in general, has a lot more user-friendliness than a lot of other softwares on, like, the surface level. Like, it's the only software that I can think of where you can drag one video clip over another to get it to, crossfade. Yeah, not many others do that. They just cut, like, overlap, and you have to, like, do something else to make them crossfade. So it's very, like, click and drag focused, and in that sense is very user-friendly for being much more visual. And then, on the other end of the spectrum, that is not user-friendly at all, is the most recent editing software I've used, which is Avid Media Composer. And if I had to describe what Avid Media Composer is like, it'd be like if you worked with physical film digitally in the worst way possible. Like, you can drag...
I hate that. The moment you said that, I already hate it.
There were times when I was learning to use it where I would drag a video clip into my tracks, and I would go to move it around, and it would move just the video, and the audio would stay put. So...
So it doesn't have grouping?
It does not hold your hand if you want to do something with it. However, because there's very little that's done for you, it is incredibly open and has a ton of utility to it. Like, when you're working with clips, like, let's say you have two 30-second clips next to each other, and there's the splice in between them, the cut between the shots. If you... I don't remember the exact order of it, but what you can do is if you click on that splice from the top of it and drag it, it will change where that cut is without changing the total length of the two clips, and you can just move where that cut goes. Or if you drag it from the bottom, it will make the one clip longer and push everything else out of the way, so you can just extend a clip and move things at the same time without having to, like, highlight everything, move it to the side, extend the clip, get it to where you want it to be, and line it back up. You can just automatically drag it without having to worry about everything else being in order.
I mean, that sounds nice, but it's also like, I don't know. You didn't really exactly give it high praise when you mentioned how it's just like editing physical reels.
Like, it's kind of shit to learn. However, what I will say about it is, obviously, like, I could give Premiere plenty of praise. I've been using it for, like, almost, like, 4 or 5 years now. Because that's what I've been using through college, and I started in, like, junior year of high school.
I was going to say junior year because Ryan did that, like, crash course for everyone, and then we kind of, like, tried to stick with it.
Yeah, so, like, 4 or 5 years at this point, I've been using Premiere, and, like, there's a lot that's great about it, between, like, being able to use other Adobe products with it, or just how, because it doesn't hold your hand the way that Vegas does, and it's not quite as user-friendly, but like, once you get to learn how to use it, it feels more professional in terms of all the other things you can do with it that you can't do as easily with Vegas.
Yeah, the amount of like pre-built effects assets and everything that it has in there, as well as just like Jake said, it's very difficult for a beginner to get into because like if you don't fully understand like the way that an editor would work. That's why even though I'm not exactly having like the best relationship with Vegas, I highly recommend that as like a way for people to start, because Adobe is just Vegas, but a lot of the tools that are just on the UI for Vegas are now in drop down menus. And like then you're given like a few extra tools for you to mess with, such as like picture tracking, where you can attach a picture to an object and have it move across the screen, like that kind of thing.
Uh, this is going to be a weird comparison that just came to me. Did you ever use the software Scratch?
Yes, I did.
I feel like
I used it when I was younger.
Vegas is kind of like Scratch, and then Premiere is a little bit more like RPG Maker, where like
Yeah.
it's like Scratch, you can get things done, and it'll hold your hand into making things because it's so user friendly. RPG Maker is just that, but like grown up.
Yeah, because Scratch is like, it's definitely like, well, it's pointed to be like, for like early coders, like, you know, middle school, and like elementary school and everything, because you know you drag the blocks and you have like these pre-built assets and everything. But then you get into RPG Maker, and yes, you have the pre-built assets. Yes, you have like, you know, this kind of skeleton to work with. But then from there, it's like trial and error.
Not that Vegas is for kids, because I know like there's a fair number of YouTubers who use Vegas because it's only like a one-time fee. You don't have to pay monthly like you do with Premiere.
Yeah, and heck, if you're like me, where I got my version of Vegas for $1 off of Humble Bundle, like that's significant instead of paying like $500.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, I mean, you know, there's other ways of like acquiring software, but they're not exactly illegal. So like my number one thing is that if you have the ability to get it legally and it's within your budget and everything, do it. If not, then like just look for free alternatives or cheap alternatives.
Yeah.
Like that's another thing, is that if you're looking to get into working with video or making content online or anything like that, the number one thing is to be very aware of the tools that you have. Don't do anything that's out of budget unless you feel very confident in it. Because if you like decide where it's like, I'm going to buy Premiere and I'm going to get all this equipment and everything, and like you make all this content that like, and then you just try to push it out and you don't really like take the time to understand like the editor or anything you're using, then that's just going to be a waste of money. Because like the number one thing too is that people, like, effort put into videos does not always equal attention. Like it's not always going to be an equal like split. I would say that this podcast is kind of like a good example of that. Like we put a lot into this just because, but like the main thing is that we're doing this for fun. So like regardless of like if it gets much attention, which arguably sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but like that's not the important thing. Because the number one important thing is that this exists because like Jake and I want to constantly be improving as editors and as like, you know, hosts. And so we're just going to keep on going with this as long as we can, because we want to keep improving. And I think that's a big thing that people need to understand, is that that this is like anything you do with video and anything you do in life is just going to be constantly improvement. Like you're never going to be as bad as you are today. You're always going to improve. That's the way I feel.
Yeah. And to give a bit of a more like concrete answer, I would say the best editing software I've used is probably Media Composer, because like once, like at first it's a pain in the ass to get to use. Like it's the kind of software like you're gonna want to use a different one while you're learning how to use Media Composer, just because you're not going to be creating anything worthwhile for quite some time. You're gonna have to like get used to using it and learning it. But like after a while, you realize that like it does have a really high like give you some gamer terms. It's got like a skill cap that's really high. You just need to get over that learning curve. And
Yeah,
like
where,
once
like,
you get
it
over
gives
that,
you
like
all these tools,
yeah,
like all these different things, and once you get like the handle of it, then things start to become easier because eventually like that knowledge will bleed over to others.
Because it's so modular and so open in its formatting that like not only is it friendly to like, well, it's not friendly at all, but it's open to doing a lot of different kinds of editing. But what's also nice about it is super easy to share projects with other people because it like formats its files in a way that like when you save the file, it's saving all of like the video clips with it that are on like the track, so you can easily send that to someone else to look at and to work with.
Oh, so you don't have to like compress a file or like a folder with all the different clips?
No, it just does. Like that's just one of the files. Because when you put everything into Media Composer, it puts it into a bin, and that bin is its own folder of stuff that you can then send to people. Oh, so it doesn't have to like reference things from like other parts of the computer. They'll get lost if you try sharing like a Premiere folder.
Yeah, because like with Premiere or Vegas, it'll be like, "Die, you're missing this one picture." So I'm just going to put it offline. I don't want to look for it.
Like when I was using Media Composer for an editing class, when we would share our project with the professor, we would send that bin folder along with it so he could open it on like the projector and just give us recommendations and make edits in real time on our projects.
That's so dope.
So he'd be like, "Oh, like, you know, this was really good. You know, I would have tried shortening this clip a little bit," and he would just shorten it because it's so easy to share like projects with people that he would just edit it on the fly in person.
I feel like that might be something we should look into.
It's honest, like it's again like you can do it with Premiere, but it's a bit easier to do with Media Composer just because of how it's built to be much more like modular and have utility in like the long term, even though it's gonna have a fucking difficult learning curve.
I'll have to take a peek at that. But hey, you know what? Unless there's anything else to say, this kind of flows into the next question pretty well.
Oh.
What is your dream film? I'm taking this as like what would be like our dream project to work on as like for you maybe like with editing or film, for me like a screenplay type thing.
I feel like it's
because I know at least one dream project that you would have.
Yeah.
To like redo the Warcraft movie, make it like 20 times more faithful.
Oh yeah, that's well.
I feel like that's more of like kind of like a.
I would definitely want to work on that. List. If that were ever a thing, I would definitely want to work on it. But I feel like the way I'm understanding the question, which could be wrong, is like if we just had like an endless budget and had complete like
creative freedom.
Yeah, complete creative freedom with endless like time and resources, like what would be our perfect overall film?
I think I kind of know my answer.
What is it?
So one of my biggest like movie obsessions is Baby Driver, because I love the concept of having the soundtrack be perfectly synced with the movie. Like having the actions on screen mirror the effects and things on the song that's playing. I would love to create a film like that, but maybe not like a bank heist type thing, like that film, but have it where all the music matches like the actions that are happening on screen. So like say, for example, a character is going and like cooking something, maybe like there's a song that involves like, you know, stirring things up, like maybe it's like something about like a love song or whatever, and it shows the person like stirring their bowl of pasta. But the thing is that I wouldn't want it to be intrusive. I want it to feel like it's a natural part of the world, so it'd be like music that's playing on a car radio, or like the alarm clock that's in someone's room, and then have it be like the moments where the music is not playing, like those will stick out. Like and everything. I mean, there's that one, and then there's actually this there's a screenplay that I'm currently trying to develop, and it's not going to be like a full feature-length film, but actually a short film that I want to do. I'm not going to get into a lot of it because this is something that one day I would love to actually work on. So like, if I do ever make it, I don't want to like spoil the entire plot. But the main thing is, this guy has a house party, and throughout like the party that he has, things slowly start to change, and the story kind of unravels itself, and makes itself clear to the end, where like the twist will be like shocking but makes sense. And that's all I want to say, because anything more would definitely spoil it. But yeah, those are the two that I've at least kept in my mind.
Nice.
What about you?
I've actually briefly told you about one of the ideas that like I would want to work on. And
oh wait, was it the guy with Oh, okay.
I'm gonna censor you. This is my time to shine.
Yeah, I want you. I want it like right when that happens. I want you to like put a hyper realistic hand over me and then like throw in this audio. It was like that. It was like my time to shine.
Put a ton of like reverb on it.
You're just.
But like, so what I find interesting is like with heroes, you have like two, like to broadly simplify it, you have two kinds of hero stories. You have one where like the hero's just kind of like all good and like might have like a flaw or two, but for the most part like they're perfectly like fine and normal, and they like go on, they save the day, and like that's the end of the story. And the other is they make like either some kind of anti-hero that's like working, you know, against the law or whatever, or they have a hero that has like a ton of flaws, but you know, that's what makes them special and what makes them the hero. And something that I thought would be interesting is having a character whose flaw is the fact that they are the hero, and playing off of that. And the idea I had in mind for that was like, if you had this hero who like every time they would die in, you know, one world, they would be reincarnated into another, and they would have to be the hero then as well. And it goes on this infinite loop of him saving the world time and time again through all of these different worlds, meeting all these different people. And he's finally in his last life as a regular human being in a regular modern world. And he has to figure out how to deal with himself finally, realizing that he can't be the overpowered hero he's used to being.
Which I love this concept.
Like, imagine,
so much.
Like, it's gonna be weird, but part of like what helped me come up with this is like, it's going to sound really weird, is like when you play like a video game, you're playing as all these different characters, but like in a way, if you kind of like extrapolate it a little bit, like you are each of those heroes every single time, and there's like a part of you in each of those heroes. And so like, what would happen if you took Master Chief, and then you took Kratos, and then you took Geralt of Rivia, and then the person who's been all of those is suddenly just a regular Joe off the street. Like, how would they conform with the real world after everything they've been able to do in the past?
Yeah, like all of the war, all the famine, like just seeing like other people slain. I like there was
like they're used to
that
being
you
able
talked
to be
about.
like thrown around, like, you know, massive landscapes and being like, you know, shot and cut to pieces. And now, like, when they punch someone, their hand is actually going to hurt for once. Or, like, they're going to think they're quick enough, but they just have regular reflexes now. And, like, another thing that I thought would be interesting to play off of this is, like, it would be easy to say, like, well, why wouldn't they just stop being the hero? But I feel like part of it would be the fact that, like, the reason they're the hero is because they have that inherent drive that they're born with. Like, they have the determination. They can't just, like, say no if they think something is wrong. Like, they have to involve themselves. And that's the thing they did that, like, they don't like about themselves. The fact that they can't just stay out of it. And, like, a line that I've, like, had in my head about this character that I feel like would sum him up is if he were to say, like, I want to be the hero, and I hate that. Because he wants to, like, help people, but now he can't in the way he's always wanted to.
I just think it's such a cool, like, I already said this, I think it's such a cool idea, because, like, you really, like, because you have those things where it's like, oh, this character that gets teleported into our world, what? And it's, like, all wild and wacky or whatever.
Yeah.
Or at least what Hollywood thinks is wacky. But I love the idea of it taking, like, a very real look where it's, like, this guy has been here for like, a millennia, has seen the land change around him, and has tried to, like, live a normal life to blend in.
Mm-hmm.
And how that would change someone. I liked the idea that you had where it would be like you see the lights of the city and then a transition, and it would be like campfires of
he would be like looking
like,
over the modern city that his house is like you know, in view of from like his back porch, and he's looking at the city, and then it cuts away to him and it cuts back to the city, and this time it's like a medieval kingdom where all of the lights have been turned into, like, you know, torches and braziers and things like that. And when it cuts to him, it cuts back, it's then this, you know, neon lit futuristic dystopia in front of him. And then, like, it then cuts to just a singular watchtower over a frozen landscape, as, like, it's showing all of these different, like, worlds that he's lived through, and it's showing that, like, he can't just let any of that go. Like, that's all still with him. And, like, now he, like, has nothing to do. There's nothing he has to do. He doesn't have to save anyone. He doesn't have to fix anything. He doesn't have to build anything back up. He's just a regular person.
One idea that I had, actually, when we talked about this, I don't know if I shared it with you, but the idea where, like, the entire thing starts out where it's like, you know, just like, you see him, like, he's a normal guy, he's sitting on his couch, and maybe he has like a beer or whatever, and he looks kind of like dirty. He goes over to like grab another from the fridge, and then, like, the bottle slips and crashes on the ground, and then that triggers something.
Yeah.
Like having something small that, like, sends him down this spiral of thinking about all this stuff, like, because I'd be very interested to see how this was written, or if there's even dialogue in it, period.
No, there would definitely be dialogue, just to, like, help with some of the exposition of, like, what's real and what's not real. And, I feel like I would use a budget in this to really, like, flesh out the flashbacks that he has to those other worlds that he's lived, and those other lives that he's lived through.
Would you try to lean more towards practical effects for this? Because I feel like that would be, like, for the best.
It would definitely be, like, a healthy mix of each. Because I feel like they do have their benefits, but I literally did an entire project on practical versus special effects.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, like, my bias would lean towards special effects, but I know practical would definitely help with a lot of things, especially close-up things. But, like, anything massive scale, I think I would want that to be CGI, just because it's easier to make bigger things realistic, because when you try to do it practically, it just gets too, like, robotic almost at times. And you can see those kinds of things with, like, even Jurassic Park. Like, you can kind of tell, looking back at it now, like, when they used an animatronic versus when they used CGI for, like, the T-Rex and stuff like that.
Yeah. Which, just as a little factoid, you know that there was, like, a glitch with the T-Rex where sometimes it would just randomly turn on? Like, during the filming?
I don't remember that. I think I remember a detail where there's, like, literally just a frame where there's, like, a velociraptor that's just straight up not rendered for, like, a single frame. And, like,
oh, yeah.
Like, you stop it and it's just not there anymore. And that was just, like, a glitch in the rendering that they didn't have the time to go back and re-render.
Yeah, like, I remember hearing about how, like, I forget if it was the T-Rex or, like, it was, like, one of the animatronic props would just randomly, like glitch and, like, go off. And so, they had a rule where it was, like, unless it was, like, filming and stuff, nobody was to be near it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at all, because of how dangerous, like, it was on the large scale.
Oh, yeah. Like, that thing had, like, a moving jaw that could crush, like, 5 people.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. But, yeah. I think we should probably get going with these questions, because we are at 42 minutes.
Yeah, and trademark, by the way. No one steal my idea. Trademark.
Yeah.
Pixel Venture Podcast approved.
Yeah, Pixel Venture Podcast. Put the stamp on it. That's ours.
Like,
but, anyways.
I'm not too worried, because one, no one, I don't think any big Hollywood execs are listening to this. If you are, hire me.
And like, if you are, hire both of us so I can write for Jake while Jake does cool things.
Like, we more basically just kind of gave, like, writing prompts than any actual, like, story. Which is fine.
True.
Which is good.
Yeah, that keeps us safe.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we got 3 more questions, and there's one of these which I'm going to actually give a very quick answer, because I want to go more in depth in a future episode.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as questions go, how to build confidence. So personally, I'm still struggling with building confidence. It's something that I've been struggling with for a very long time. And the number one thing, at least for me, I don't know, Jake, like, how you feel about it, but, like, the absolute number one thing that comes down to it, it's just acknowledging that the voices in your head aren't right all the time. Because it's so easy to get stuck in the pattern of believing everything that's in your head and blocking out everything else in the world. I get stuck in that a lot of times. A lot of other people can get stuck in that. But really, you just need to love what you're doing and know that if there's any problems, you can and will find a way to solve them.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, my number one thing was fear of failure. And there still is, like, a decent amount of that still in my head that I combat against every day. But that's just something that you gotta do. And I'm definitely more confident in myself, like, nowadays compared to, say, high school. Like, I'm more confident in what I say, how I look, like, and while I do have days where I struggle and fluctuate, I find ways to tackle that.
I feel like it's hard to give advice on confidence in a brief manner, just because it's so general. Like, there's so many different things to be confident about. Like, there's confidence in yourself, there's confidence in how you approach things, there's confidence in, like, in how it relates to fear and anxiety and nervousness.
Yeah,
and
the other big thing is that, like, because of how, like, open-ended just confidence in general can be, it's so hard to give, like, personal accurate advice.
And
like what I
it's
just said.
Also situational. So like advice for one person could be the exact opposite of what someone else should be doing based on like how they're interpreting it.
Yeah, because I said what works for me, and what works for me may not work for you or anyone, or you know, maybe it works for a lot of people. Like, it all just comes down to understanding where your weaknesses lie. Like, I understand sometimes it can be scary to be alone with your thoughts and to understand, like, where your head goes. Like, I get that. I was there for a very long time. But it's so important to understand what your desires are, because then you have a basis to work off of.
I would say, you know what? I'm going to give a really, really general piece of advice that kind of works with this, but also like a lot of other things. People need to remember that no one is going to hang out with you more than yourself. So you need to know how to be comfortable with that person, whoever that person
you go to
might
sleep.
be.
Yeah, you go to sleep, you wake up, and at the end of the day, regardless of who you're around, who you're with, who you talk to, that's who you start and end the day with. Is you
are going to be who you are with the most and spend the most time with. So you better be the person who knows yourself the best. And like, there's a ton of people who don't like being alone with their thoughts, and there's plenty of people who are like that. And I don't want to get into like my opinions around that specifically, like, 'cause that's a whole nother episode all on its own. But I think once you know how to handle being on your own with your own thoughts, your confidence will instantly get better, and it'll instantly improve because you're no longer doubting yourself. You have that confidence in yourself because you're comfortable with yourself.
Yeah, and when you know, like, what's going on up there, like, in your head and your cranium, then you can, like, look at life through that lens where it's just like, okay, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what I don't need in my life. I'm going to adjust.
And speaking more specifically about confidence as like a final note on that, at least from my perspective, is if you are lacking confidence in something because you have doubts about how things will go and how things will turn out, remember, at least what helps with me is remember that your doubts will not change what happens, so you might as well just go and do it, and it'll figure itself out.
Legit, as someone who pretty much never really took that advice until after high school, my God, that's important.
Like,
that is so important.
If you're, like, specifically to high school, if you, like, wanna, like, ask someone out, but you're afraid of, like, rejection, that fear is not gonna change anything. So, like, you might as well just go and do it. If you're afraid of, like, an interview, for example, and, like, not being, accepted, just do it, because that fear is not going to change anything. If anything, it might make things worse. So,
yeah, because then you go in the mindset of, like, failure, and then when you assume that, 9 times out of 10, that's what's going to happen, because you try to, like, guide it to be like that, because in that way, when it does inevitably fall apart, you can be like, oh, I knew it.
Yeah, and you might not be trying your best because you don't see the reality of you being successful.
Yeah, and I will say, Jake, you understand this. I am 100% guilty of doing that.
Yep.
100% guilty. And I am trying very hard to never, like, get back into those habits, and it's very difficult. But already, I just feel so much happier with myself. Where it's like, oh, I'm nervous about, like, doing, like, for example, there's this big group call thing that was happening with, like, a bunch of people from our grade, like our graduating class.
Mm-hmm.
And I debated back and forth for like days on whether or not I was going to pop in and say hi to people and talk for a little bit. Because I was like, I don't really know too many people outside of like my main friend group. Like I thought a lot of people back in high school hated me and everything. And honestly, it was 5 minutes before like the whole thing was happening. And I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do it, because regardless of if they like didn't like me or not, or if I say something stupid, like I'm still gonna go and like talk to them. And it was one of the most pleasant conversations I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like it was a really nice like catch up. I played it up in my head so much. Like I was nervous getting into the call, but like I didn't let that deter me from experiencing it.
Yeah. And I know I have like a very specific way of approaching things, because I tend to approach things from a very determinist mindset. And like things are, I feel like things just are going to go a certain way, and so like you shouldn't fear things going poorly, because that fear is not going to change any of that. So like all
like,
you're doing
like
is
you
missing
kind of have
an
the mentality
opportunity.
of things are, yeah, you're like things are set in stone. They kind of go the way they will, and you just do it.
Like if you think of it like you're taking a test and afterwards you're like worried about your grade, that worrying's not going to change what your grade is. Your grade's going to be whatever it is. So you might as well just kind of like let things flow and let things settle wherever they land.
Very true. All right, so we got 2 more questions left. This is the one that I'm going to go fast with because I want to talk about it at length in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
How's Animal Crossing? I think it's a fantastic game. I will get more into why next episode, because this final one I want to end it on, and I feel like we get a pretty good discussion off of it. But yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think it's the new best entry point for beginners to the series. Lots of new changes that I like. I'll get into more detail next week. But this final question is, do you think this quarantine will bring about a lot of new innovations in terms of household gaming, or will it just be a fad and return society to normalcy afterwards? So do you think like the current trends with how gaming is being treated right now, do you think that's here just because of the virus, and at the moment that things go back to the way they are, well they were for, you know, just being like as loose with saying that as possible, do you think that we'll ever I'm trying to think of how do I phrase this.
I think, in my somewhat optimistic view of things, I'll get specifically to video games in a moment, but I think generally what coronavirus is doing to society as a whole and the economy is it's revealing very generally what is necessary and what is not, and what is good and what is not. Like,
Yeah.
like it's showing that like you don't need a lot of like now I don't know how to word things. Like, society has definitely changed to like fit in coronavirus in terms of people not going out as much as they used to. The film industry is getting hit to shit because no one's going to theaters, no one's making films as much because of all of the work safety stuff now. So like you have a lot of things that are tanking and a lot of things that are changing. I feel like a lot of that is going to change how we live as a society moving forward. Being surrounded by film at college, one thing that I've thought about is like, I know with like a lot of the late night shows, the late night news, talk show, comedy things, a lot of those are being filmed from the host's house. And
Yeah,
I'm thinking
like Conan O'Brien's doing that.
Conan O'Brien, Stephen Colbert, Seth Meyer, John
Jon Stewart,
Oliver.
right?
John Oliver, he's doing that too. And if you think about it, that's a lot of what a ton of YouTubers are already doing. So I'm thinking that either this will open up a gateway for previously like independent amateur people to like get into, in this case, the film industry, because they've already been doing what the higher up people are doing now to compensate, or like the fact that like I know Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers, Seth, they both had interviews with Bernie Sanders right after he dropped out of the race, which is something you wouldn't be able to do in person because he would have to like be at all these places and do all these things. I feel like the things
you got Bernie Sanders having a Twitch account,
yeah,
and like doing talks from it. Like he had a thing earlier today.
Yeah, like I feel like that's going to show like how open and available people can be when you don't need them to be in person, when you can just phone them in. And I feel like having like classes online, that's really going to open up the availability for people to do things online, such as classes.
I will be 100% honest, and I have no shame with saying this. I pay attention more with my classes now that they're online than I did in person.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, because I have like I can have the class on my screen here. I'll have the book open on another tab. I'll have my notes out, and I'm in the comfort of my own room. I'm not in some like classroom that like I get anxious in because there's all these people like sitting around me.
And I don't know about your classes, but with mine, two things that I really enjoy is, one, I can go up and go to the bathroom and not have to be self-conscious about disrupting the class. And two,
oh dude, that's the worst.
And two, if I do go and do that and I miss a part of the class, with all four of the classes I'm taking, they're all being recorded, so I can just rewatch the parts that I missed anytime I want. And that's not even speaking to the people who have all of their classes recorded and have like their lectures put online.
Yeah.
Like it really opens up like the availability to students by having it all be online.
Yeah. I have a math class where my professor, like, she'll do all the questions on this like digital whiteboard, and then she'll send us the file of like the whole whiteboard and all of the notes and everything, and it's like so dang nice to just be able to have access to that whenever. And because I'm not fast when it comes to writing notes, so literally just having directly what the professor wrote like right there on my computer, I can open it up when I'm doing my homework through like the online portal and everything. Like it's so dang nice.
And you know what I think would be great for schools to adapt moving forward from coronavirus?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if there's like a terrible like snowstorm, especially since we live in like New England. There's like a ton of snow and slush and ice everywhere, and you can't make it to class, but you can get on your computer and go to class virtually.
Yeah, like the ability to remote in.
Exactly.
It's
like, as opposed to missing class, you like, it would be different if you're sick and you're not well enough to like pay attention to class. But if you just can't get to class, imagine being able to just phone in and being able to have like your webcam that way.
I think that would be good, but you know for a fact that there would be students that would take advantage of that.
Oh, they definitely would.
Like, maybe it would just be like, oh hey, so there's a snowstorm, we're gonna have class online, here's the key for Zoom, or here's the Discord server to join, like jump in, we'll do the lesson at the normal time, but just so that everybody can still like, you know, get that learning in instead of them having to cram it in the next day being like, oh crap, how do we do that?
But like, I think that's something that they could just like work into the policy of like, say, you can only have like 5 like, online attendances before like something happens, or like you have to get like spoken to by the professor.
Yeah, before you get like a strike or something.
Yeah, like
Okay.
you commute to school. So like what
Yeah,
if
I drive,
so like
I drive
if
back and forth.
like if you imagine if like one of like your wheels exploded because as cars do.
Jake,
like imagine if
the roads in our state are bad, but not that bad.
imagine if you had like a flat tire and like you couldn't make it to school, but you could go like to class online and explain like, yeah, like my tire's flat, and like maybe your professor would like ask for proof, you send a picture of the flat tire, like whatever it is, and you don't have to worry about missing class, and like you don't have to be like, oh my god, I can't make it to class. You can be like, oh my god, my car isn't working, and actually focus on the actual problem. Anyway, for the gaming industry, I have no idea what's going to change.
I think that this is the perfect environment for VR to thrive. Because like people are stuck at home and they want to leave and they want to go somewhere. You put on the headset, you can go wherever.
I still think, well,
the Quest is completely sold out right now. Like the Oculus Quest.
Yeah.
You go anywhere, you go on any website, the only people there that got it are the resellers. The same thing with the Switch. Like, I think now more than ever, video games are like one of the main forms of entertainment, because you don't got sports on. You don't got like a lot of the normal programming that you would go for. So a lot of people are turned into video games.
You got Marbula 1.
Yeah, I know we got Marbula 1, but also it's like, man, we can go and talk about that next episode, like in depth.
We've got a lot to talk about next episode, but
oh my god, definitely.
Like I know one thing that won't be sustainable in terms of the gaming industry, and this is true with a lot of other industries. The fact that everything is going free. That is not going to be kept up. Like, people should take advantage of that while they can, because like all these things going free is not gonna be a norm.
Yeah. For example, right now, for anyone who has a PlayStation, the first 3 Uncharted games and Journey are now free until May. So get them. Like, or like what Jackbox Games did, where Drawful 2 is free if you're on computer. Like get that. There's so many like cool trial things that are now available for people because they're all stuck at home. I believe Hulu is fully free for 2 months now.
I know there was some, like, I think it was a Disney movie that like was released
Onward.
It was released to streaming like way early.
Onward was released for streaming the day that it was supposed to come out in theaters. Yeah. And Trolls 2 went on demand on the day that it came out in theaters as well. And
you want to know what one of the craziest things are?
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, I'm forgetting the name of it, and it's ruining everything. You know, there's a particular brand of hotels that have like cookies in the lobby.
Marriott.
Right? They like released their recipe very recently.
What?
They released their recipe.
I need to find it now, because those cookies were really good.
The reason why I know this is because my mom just made them.
And?
It's the recipe. And it turns out that like they do a lot of odd things that people would do individually, and they just kind of combined all of them.
And then it looks like somehow it works?
Yeah. Like, they have almost, like, ritualistic ways of, like, doing it. Like, one of the specific instructions is, like, once you're done baking them, you let them cool on the sheet they were baked on for, like, an hour or something like that, and then they're served. It's like a bunch of like weird kind of like things that you wouldn't expect to go together.
I feel like we didn't give the proper answer that they were looking for.
We gave the proper answer for a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
Just not
as far as video games though, I think as far as like the hyper focus of like everybody jumping on and playing and like doing more community stuff involved in it, I feel like if anything, once we get back to what's considered like normal or the new normal,
I think moving forward, what I've been hoping for a long time, and I think this is going to be a great time to do it, I still think VR has a little ways to go to being more consumer friendly.
Yeah.
Because like I know the Quest is great and does a lot of things that a lot of people want VR to do, but
it's also like low power though.
It's low power, and you are still paying and like I know you can play games off of it, like, and you don't need like a super powerful computer because it's all like its own thing, but yeah, it's still the price of a console, and I don't really think there's an alternative for people who do have a decent enough computer that is also cheaper, like, to be more the cost of like a peripheral, like a keyboard or a headset.
Yeah, well, I feel like until like the technology to build it becomes like easier to acquire or like cheaper to build, because like you have to take into account the sensors, the screens, the lenses, the frame, the everything.
But like
that's why
I mean, with a lot of those things, we already have those. We just need to find out how to make them more affordable. And that's
why like the PlayStation VR headset is as successful as it is, because you literally just, if you already have the PlayStation, bam, cool, here like slap down some money, there's your VR headset, it already works with a bunch of the games that we have.
Like, we've had sensors for a long time, we've had VR for long enough to the point where like we know how to make the lenses work, because we can even use like phones to run VR if you have one of those like phone like snap-in headsets. So,
I personally do.
I've used them like a ton, so like we already have like the lenses down. We just need to figure out like how to make that affordable, which is usually the next step from where we are.
Okay, Jake, around an hour, 7 minutes.
I know, I'll cut that out. You don't have to be stupid.
Hours. Okay, but hey, this could be like a funny gag for like the set where like a shelf falls or something. I don't know. My mic literally just fell off the table that I was had it set up on, but it's landed upright, so I think that means good luck.
Anyway, at this point, VR doesn't have to improve, it just needs to be more affordable, and then from there it'll get the upgrades for the people who like want to go hardcore into VR the same way computers became more affordable over time and became more convenient, and then they made like technology better to fit that, and you have people building battle stations with their PCs.
You know what I'm really excited for?
What?
In the future, where like VR is so common and so prevalent that there are like posts about custom VR rigs, like for like headsets and everything, where it's like actually affordable, where you can buy the individual parts and build your own.
Oh yeah, and for like, people to have like their own VR stations where like they have all the space in the room and like everything's like set up with like places to put their headsets specifically and the controllers and stuff like that.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's going to be a rise. I feel like in general, just like gaming as a whole, with like how there's more focus on it and there's more like, you know, people doing it. I feel like it's going to get a bit more of a wider acceptance, and then GTA 6 is going to come out and everyone's going to go back to the way they were.
Oh no, it's not. They're going to keep selling GTA 5 at the $60 price range, and it's just never going to go down, and no one's going to get tired of it.
It's been going on sale though recently.
Has it?
Like over the past few months, yeah.
I mean, going on sale is still not the same as lowering the price.
I know, but like at the very least, like the entrance cost was like $30 was the cheapest I think I saw it.
Yeah, but like that's still the same way that like Skyrim is still being sold for $60 on the newer platforms, even though like it should really only be like $20 at this point. It's like a 9-year-old game.
It makes money. It's a title that makes money. Same with GTA, with the online and everything.
Yeah.
But regardless,
Fucking...
Jake's just bitter. Anyways, yeah. So that was the grab bag. We went a little longer than I thought we would, actually, with the amount of questions we had. But yeah.
Yeah, we even missed 2 of them.
I feel so bad that we lost it. If we lost your questions, please message me, because then we can like maybe put them on for the next week.
We have so much for next week to talk about.
Oh God, yeah, we got 2 games to talk about. We got like I don't know, just the world in general. Watch us forget about all of it though, and completely talk about something else.
Yeah.
Alright, well, you got anything left to say for this episode?
Kiss your dad.
There's that tagline. If you want to buy some Kiss Your Dad merch, leave a like, retweet, or send this video to your brother, or your sister, or your favorite dog.
Or your dad.
Or your dad! You should tweet at us pictures of you kissing your dad, and then we'll put them in the next episode.
We will put them in the next episode.
Yeah. Or if it's a video, even better. And make sure it's like he doesn't know that you're going to kiss his cheek. So it'll just be like, what the fuck?
Bonus points if it's a video of you sneaking up on your dad, you kiss him on the cheek, and he just turns around and is like, we should have used protection. Like one of those just backfired, like, check out my new phone background. It's a text from mom being like, why couldn't you be more successful? Or like, one of those like...
Dude, my favorite one is like, hey, check out this cool meme. And then there's like the text notification that's like, I'm leaving you.
Or it's like, check out this meme, and it's like, your mom and I are getting a divorce.
Yeah, it's like, look at that funny giraffe. Well, anyways, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Pixel Venture Podcast. Again, if we missed your question, we're so sorry. Message me, and we'll get it in the next episode. But yeah, I've been Korey.
And I've been Jake.
And we'll see you here next week.
See ya.
So we're getting a new set, right?
Yeah.
That was a very unsure yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot to clean up here.
I see that, okay? I'm just glad the Homer head, survived.
A lot of dust.
Yeah. I'm glad the Homer head survived, though. I was really worried about that.
We'll have him back on the shelf.
The shelf here or new set?
New set.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
The Pixel Venture Podcast will return. I don't know, put up the text from fucking Avengers for that. I don't know. Jake.
Yes.
I see you ignoring me in the corner.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm cleaning up, and there's a lot of ashes. Ash to ash. So you're gonna leave me to eat all of it by myself, or you're gonna come join in?